I'm a 27-year-old male, and Fiancé is a 26-year-old female. We'll call her L. We'll call my father B. Like many in this situation, I never thought something like this would happen to me. But here we are. I've never used Reddit, but I've seen stories from here on TikTok, so I thought I'd give this a shot for any advice you all could give. From listening to some other stories, you all seem to like the build-up. I'll try and be as clear and precise as I can, but it's only been a week, so if I start to lose it during the telling of this, I'm sorry. Elle and I met in her freshman year of college. We were both living in the same building, which is where we eventually met. We later found out we only lived 2 towns away from each other, so whenever we went home, I let her ride with me. It only added around 20 minutes, so it was no big deal. After multiple trips and hanging out at school, we started to date. I have a close-knit family, and so does she, so we told our families right away. I'd met her family plenty of times when dropping her off, but it was nothing more than an introduction and exchanging pleasantries. Both of our families accepted each other with open arms, and our relationship continued to grow. I was a year ahead of her, so when I graduated, I moved home and was offered a good job. I visited her at school whenever I got the chance, and whenever she came home, we would make time for each other. After she graduated, she moved in with me as both of our jobs were in the city near where we grew up. She also found work in town, and our relationship was better than ever. After living together for about 3 years, I proposed. We've been planning our wedding since. Now, on to the part you're all reading for. Looking back, there were plenty of things I overlooked and just wrote off. Thinking my father was just trying to welcome her into our family. Things like my father calling her all the time, and if I was around, they would just tell me they were talking about the upcoming family party or something. One time Elle was in the shower and her phone rang. I saw it was my dad, so I answered. When he realized it was me, he sounded both upset and surprised that I picked up. I asked what's up, and he responded that he wanted to talk to Elle about my mother's birthday that was in a week. And after a minute, we ended the call. Even typing this out now, I feel like an idiot for not seeing it sooner. On the day that I found out, it was like any other day. Elle had Thursdays off, so she made breakfast for both of us. When I set out for work, she gave me a kiss and told me to have a great day. During my drive to work, I realized I had forgotten some paperwork I needed for a meeting. I shrugged it off and told myself I'd just stop home at lunch to get it. Elle texted me throughout the day, talking about all the casual stuff a couple talks about. Like, what do you want for dinner? And I did the laundry. Do you want me to hang it up for you? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't think it was necessary to tell her that I was coming home for lunch, so when it came around, I just left work and went home. When I got home, I noticed a car that looked like my father's in our lot, but I didn't think anything of it and just parked, then entered the building. When I opened the door, I was met with a scene out of a movie. One of those cliché moments where a man comes home early and catches his spouse cheating. There was a trail of clothes, both his and hers leading to my bedroom, and the sound of faint moans echoed through my apartment. I stood at the door in utter shock. My emotions were a mix of rage, sadness, and disgust. But if you were a fly on my wall, you would see what looked like a statue. I couldn't move. When I finally came to, not knowing how much time had passed, I took out my phone to record. I picked up all the clothes that were on the floor and threw them into the hall of the building. After, I filmed the walk to my bedroom. The door was open. I stood in the doorway filming for about a minute, then flipped on the lights. They both jumped at the sudden light and looked at me. To my surprise, it was my father in bed with her. After the initial shock, my father noticed I was recording and started to panic, trying to FinSSD anything to cover himself and telling me to stop recording. He found a towel, wrapped it around himself, and started to walk toward me. I told him, "If you don't want to get hurt, stop walking towards me." He either didn't care or didn't hear me and reached for my phone. I hit him as hard as I could, square in the jaw. His head bounced off the door and slumped to the ground. Elle shrieked. I aimed the camera at Elle and said, "What? You're concerned about your boy toy but nothing for your fiancé?" My father woke up after about a minute. Soon after, I let them know that I was heading back to work. and that if either of them were still home when I got back, I'd send this video to everyone they knew. As I ended the video, I looked at my dad and let him know that he was dead to me, and that I'd be having a serious conversation with Mom very soon. I sat in my car for a bit until one of my bosses called. I told her I was on my way back and had run into some traffic. When I walked into her office to hand her the paperwork, I must have looked horrible. She asked what was wrong, but I tried to play it off. I could see her scanning me up and down. Then she noticed some blood on my collar and pointed it out. At that point, I think reality really started to hit me. I looked down and bluntly told her that I had caught my father and my wife together. She looked confused, so I pulled out my phone and showed her the video. We sat in silence for a moment until it finally clicked that not only was my fiancé cheating on me, but it was with my father. She asked if there was anything she could do, suggesting I take some time off, but I really had no desire to go back home in that moment. I let her know that I just need some time to collect my thoughts and that I'd be fine for the meeting. The meeting went over fine, and I put on a smile for everyone like nothing had happened. When I got home, both Elle and my father were gone. For the first time in a while, I felt completely alone. It's been a couple of weeks and Elle has tried to reach out, but I blocked her number. I have no interest in ever speaking to her again, and I know that completely ignoring her is the best way to get under her skin. Now I'm trying to figure out how to let my mother know. She's a good person, and this is going to break her heart. Thank you for reading. I'm sorry if I carried on too much, but it was therapeutic getting everything off my chest. I just don't know what to do. I definitely need to get the hell out of this apartment. I just can't live here anymore, and there's no way I'm sleeping in that bed. And now let's get to the update. Wow. Hello everyone. I didn't expect to come back to Reddit and have this much support. I didn't really plan to update. I just wanted to put what had happened out there and hopefully get some advice. After I wrote down what happened, I closed my computer and kind of fell into a depression. It hit me like a train. I'll try to reply more on this post. I just logged back on, and it was honestly too much to try and reply to every comment. Just know I read through most of them, and I truly appreciate everyone's inputs. So the day after I posted, I tried to contact my mother, but none of my calls were connecting. I wanted to see if she would get lunch with me so I could tell her everything. After about a dozen tries, I decided to get into my car and go to her house. She needed to know what happened as soon as possible. Throughout the drive, I thought about what I would say and how I would say it. That made me start to panic. I had to pull over twice to throw up. It's not every day you have to tell your mother that her husband is screwing your fiancé. I pulled into the driveway and sat in my car for a moment to calm down and gather my thoughts. I was in the driveway for a few minutes when my mother threw the front door open. I stepped out of my car. She started cursing at me, saying, "How dare you come to my home after you hit your father for trying to break up a fight between you and Elle?" She called me every name in the book and called me an abuser. She told me I needed to leave since Elle isn't ready to forgive me yet, and that if she's smart, she never will. Yes. Apparently my father took Elle to their house and told my mom that Elle and I were fighting, and when my father tried to stop it, I hit him. She continued on for a while until I finally snapped and said, "Really, Mom? Because your husband is screwing my fiancé. That's why I hit him. And if you can't take my word for it, I have a video. I'll send it to you, but I don't want to hear your apology after all of the things you just said." Her face dropped. I pulled out my phone and sent her the video. My mom took hers out and began playing it. She watched up until the part where I turn on the light. She then put her phone down and looked up at me, but I had turned and got into my car. I backed out of the driveway. I looked at her before I drove away, and she was in tears. My heart hurt for her. But in the moment, after everything that was said, I just needed to leave. When I got home, I started clearing everything out of my apartment that had to do with Elle or my family. I boxed all of Elle's things up and put them next to the front door. Legally, this has been her place of residence, so I can't technically kick her out. Her name is on the lease, but she's the type of person who stays away from conflict, so I don't anticipate anything crazy happening. Anything that had to do with my parents, I boxed up and put into storage. Like I said in my first post, we were a very close family, but I've never had a problem cutting toxic people out of my life. I texted Elle's parents and told them that I was calling off the engagement. I told them she's been cheating on me and that I was thankful for how they'd welcomed me into their family. I finished by asking if they would come pick up all of her belongings. I haven't gotten a response from them yet, but I'm hoping they come grab her things so Elle doesn't have a reason to come back here. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe.